place in the Jewish quarter of the Old City, a place we visited on this channel before. Over here, we can learn a bit about the history of it, what were the 4 different synagogues, what actually went on in those different places in of itself, respectively, all throughout the various different points of time. So we know that it's located in the Old City of Jerusalem. That's the first thing we can say within regards to it. Old City, in of itself, there was a great large Sephardic Jewish community over there. There's various historical importances, I think, of the synagogue in of itself. For example, I think there was a special jar of olive oil, a pure shofar that was found there, and there was the Rishon LeZion will actually be ordained near there. We're going to learn about that also. So it's very, very interesting. So let's learn a bit within regards to it. Now, first of all, it includes 4 synagogues. The Eliyahu Hanavi Synagogue, which was established in 1586, I believe, reports over. The Yochanan ben Zakkai Synagogue, whose current building dates to the beginning of the 17th century. The Istanbuli Synagogue, which was established in 1764. The Tsai Synagogue, which is the Middle Synagogue, also known as Kalsion Synagogue, formed from a courtyard amidst the synagogue that was roofed in the mid-18th century. The synagogues were built to accommodate the religious needs of Jerusalem's, let's say, Sephardic community, with each congregation at that point in time practicing a different rite, and most remain in active use here today. Let's learn a bit about the history within regards to it. Now, I think in 1586, Ottoman government closed a Ramban synagogue, the famous Ramban synagogue, which was established, I think, in the year 1400, because it shared a wall with a mosque, supposedly. So that's what's stated over. So I think nowadays it was rebuilt over the ruins and reconsecrated as a synagogue in recent times. I think after the 1967 Six-Day War, there's a lot that maybe is a entire video on itself about the history of this famous Ramban synagogue. Maybe we'll speak about at a later stage. So that's very interesting. Okay, so as the only other synagogue in Jerusalem at the time belonged to the Karaite minority, for they so at a point in time there was many followers, mainstream people and refugees of Spain, and they would held, because of the Spanish Inquisition, they would hold services in private homes for several years until completing the new Yochanan ben Zakkai synagogue, which was nearby over there. This was very interesting. So we're talking about here. We're going all the way back to the 16th century, interesting enough. So that's much is actually reported over within regards to this famous synagogue, which we're going to speak about in due time. In 1835, Muhammad Ali, the viceroy of Egypt, who ruled Jerusalem at the time, permitted the refurbishment of the synagogues, which had been denied since their construction. At the entrance to the Istanbuli synagogue is a plaque commemorating the restoration. In 1845, someone named Joseph Schwartz, considered by the Jewish Encyclopedia as a Jewish authority on Palestine matters since Estori Fahi, he stated that the buildings were knocked down over there and completely rebuilt. I'll quote what it's said over here. All these 4 synagogues form, properly speaking, but a very large single building, since they stand near one another, so that one can walk from into another. And the center one, the smallest of all, has no entrance from the street, and you have to reach it through either of the 3 others. On my arrival, he says over here, in the year 1833, I found them in a most, let's say, he quotes, miserable and lamentable condition, since they were at the time greatly out of repair and almost threatened to tumble in, and were, he claims over here, he uses the words, useless in rainy weather, inasmuch as they were roofed in with nothing but old and, let's say, rotten boarding, this terminology used, and our brothers could not obtain the permission from the pious faithful to drive as much as single nail to fasten anything into the building without being first authorized by the most worthy persons in authority. But in the year 5595, Abraham Pasha of Egypt, who understood and was able to instruct and convince his people that even the Nebi had grown more tolerant in modern times, gave the permission to rebuild a new from the foundation of these 4 synagogues, and they are accordingly at present 4 fine buildings. That's what's quoted over here. After the fall of the Jewish quarter during the 1948 Arab-Israel War, the synagogues were damaged by shellfire. During the Jordanian rule between 1948 to 1967, the buildings of synagogues were used as, how disgraceful and how the anti-Semitism were in that point in time, as donkey stables. After the Six-Day War, the synagogues were restored by architect, someone named Dan Tanai. I believe. Now let's explore about each synagogue respectively. The Yochanan ben Zakkai synagogue. Now, according to the legend, the Yochanan ben Zakkai synagogue is also known as Kahal Kadosh Gadol, is believed to stand on the spot of the Beit Midrash of the Tana Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai, who established the Sanhedrin in Yavne after the destruction of second Bet Mikdash, the second temple. The current building was constructed at the beginning of the 17th century, and by 1947 it was the largest synagogue of the Sephardic community in Jerusalem. Since the end of the 19th century, it has served as a site of the Sephardic chief rabbi's installation. So the Rishon LeZion will actually be ordained in this place in time, which is very phenomenal, let's just say, in of itself, and phenomenal feat. And there's actually a famous picture actually of the installation of the Chacham Vashi in previous times, which hopefully maybe I will be able to share on the thumbnail also respectively on this, and a very, very famous one. Yeah, and it doesn't actually on this picture state who the, it's dated in 1893, I think this picture is. So if it was in 1893, you could arguably say that that would probably been when Rabbi Elisha would have been installed as Rishon LeZion at that point in time, but I have to double check on that. So that's very interesting. Now, a piece of land below street level was chosen for the synagogue in order to conceal the building from the authorities. Now, Meir Ben Dov, however, is of the opinion that the sub-street level plot wasn't initially intentionally chosen, but rather that the street level itself was lower at the time and the synagogue had protruded above the street. With time, the dwellings, let's say, surrounding the synagogues were demolished and new houses were built above them. While the synagogue itself was preserved, the cycle continued until today, resulting in the synagogue being instituted below street level. It should nevertheless be noted that if construction was indeed permitted, the building itself had to comply with Muslim restrictions for, I think, dhimmi houses of prayer not to be higher than mosques. Located in the old Jewish quarter of Jerusalem, it suffered the same fate as most synagogues in the area during the 19-year Jordanian rule after 1948. It had been fully refurbished since Israel gained control of the old city during the Six-Day War. This work was initiated by Rabbi Meir Yehuda Getz. He was a rabbi of the Western Wall, the Kotel rabbi was before. He was a Rosh Yeshiva, I believe, of, if I'm not mistaken, Yeshivat Bet El, the Kabbalistic Yeshiva in Jerusalem, and it was also restored the Yeshivat Mekubalim to its former glory. Unlike most synagogues, the Yochanan ben Zakkai synagogue contains two holy arks, one of the Torah scrolls and one for the other holy books. Other unique features include the oil jar and the shofar that are kept on glass shelf by the southern wall's window. The tradition held that these were ancient relics of the Bet HaMikdash, the temple, which could only be used to herald the arrival of the Messiah and in his subsequent anointing ceremony, while a 19th century account by someone named Abraham Moses Lunks, he was a famous Russian scholar, implies that the oil's jug's importance was connected to the ritual of the Shituf Mevo'ot. The original relics disappeared following the destruction of the synagogue in 1948 and were replaced with a modern iteration seen today. So the historian Abraham Moses Lunks, he was, let's speak about him for a minute. He lived between 1854 to 1918. It would be good to record a video about him, a private video also, because it seems like he was a historian in of itself. He came to Jerusalem when he was 14 years old, and I think he maybe suffered from loss of eyesight early on in his life, if I'm not mistaken. And in exploration of the Holy Land, Lunks has rendered great services from historical, geographical, and physical standpoints through his guidebooks for Palestine, his Palestine Annals, and Jerusalem, let's just say in itself. He owned a Hebrew printing press in Ezrat Yisrael neighborhood, interesting enough, which is now an ultra-Orthodox neighborhood, across the street from his own home in Even Yisrael, a place we visited also before. And from there, he issued a number of works by Jewish, Palestinian scholars, respectively. But he would very much speak about this, interestingly enough. So I recommend people to learn about him. Maybe we'll record a video about him at a later stage. Okay, then there's the Istanbuli synagogue. What's that? I think it was formed in 1764. A Sephardic community of Jerusalem grew due to large groups of immigrants who arrived from Istanbul Turkey, they used the adjacent building as a synagogue and attracted worshippers from the eastern communities, including from Kurdistan and from North and West Africa. The Hechal itself dates from the 17th century and was imported from a synagogue which had been destroyed in Ancona in Italy. The Teba, constructed in the 18th century, came from a synagogue in Pesaro, Italy. The synagogue was renovated, I believe, in the year 1836. Now, I think it was during the 1947-1949 Palestine War. The synagogue was occupied by Arabs. After Israel gained control of the Old City during the Six-Day War, it was renovated. Now, today, the Istanbuli synagogue is used by the Spanish-Portuguese congregation, following mostly the London Rite, established in 1980 by the congregation Shaarei Zion. Now, it's actually, I believe in the year 1947, there was a description of the synagogue was published as follows. It's actually written over here, this very, very detailed introduction. Kahal Stambuli. Actually pronounced in a specific English way, Sephardic rite. The synagogue is immense, but is not distinguished for its beauty. Therein had a cistern of water and a place of geniza, a repository for worn-out books, until such time that they are taken out for burial. In its eastern facade, there is an entrance by which they ascend to the street. On Shabbat days in the afternoons, a savant who really instructs there expounds on Torah in the colloquial Spanish tongue, Ladino, a lesson that is derived from the weekly biblical lection, a parsha, before the multitude of the people, as, let's say, as also before the women in the women's court. In all of the synagogues of the Spaniards, there are wide benches that are situated only around the interior walls and join the raised platforms of dais, and strewn over them, i.e. the floor, are mats so as to permit sitting. Their legs that are being beneath their knees, as the manner of the people of the Orient. The precentor stands upon the raised platform, the bima, and prays while the congregants around them. In each one of these synagogues are many Torah scrolls fixed with wooden cases that are fabulously decorated. During the reading, they open the scroll while it stands in an upright position and read in it. There are also crowns and beautiful finials and expensive silk curtains that have been embroidered in gold. The women's court in each of these synagogues is located on the inside of the synagogue, on an upper story, close to the ceiling, enclosed by wooden lattice partition, have a separate entrance from the street or from the courtyard. That's what's actually described there. Now, the next synagogue, the Eliyahu Hanavi synagogue. Another synagogue was established in anno 1586 CE and named the Elijah the Prophet's one. The synagogue is the oldest of the four. The Eliyahu Hanavi synagogue mainly served as a bet midrash for Torah study, also known as Kahal Talmud Torah. It was used for prayer on festivals. According to the legend over here, the name of the synagogue was given after an event that took place on Yom Kippur, when one person was missing to complete the minyan required for prayer. Out of nowhere, a man unknown to the worshippers appeared, and the service was able to start. The man mysteriously disappeared after Ne'ilah. The people were sure that the man was none other than Elijah the prophet. Now also the Emtsai synagogue, this is the fourth one, or the middle synagogue, is known as Kahal Sion synagogue. It forms, let's say, the central chamber of the complex. It was originally a courtyard, which was probably used as the Ezrat Nachshim, the women's section of the Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai synagogue. Now, I think during Sukkot it could be converted into Sukkah for worshippers. With the growth of the community, it was decided during the middle of the 18th century to roof the yard. It was turned into what is today known as Middle Synagogue due to its location in the middle of other three synagogues. Very interesting enough. So these are famous synagogues in of itself that we have to point out. You know, it's very, very interesting. The real history behind the Jewish community. There's some other articles. Let's just say there's an excellent article, for example, on which actually speaks, I think, the Spanish-Portuguese part of the four synagogues over here on Jerusalem Post, which I recommend people to read. I think there was the Sephardi Council itself would actually give a detailed online talk within regards to this synagogue in itself. And there's various other articles within regards to this. Remember, the Rishon LeZion itself would be ordained there, which was very, very, let's just say, in of itself, a phenomenal, a beauty within regards to asset within regards to the synagogue that we also have to point out within regards to that. It's, I think there's other famous synagogues the Ashkenazim also had in the Old City, which I have to point out. If I'm not mistaken, there's a famous Hurva synagogue that we've spoken about on various occasions before. But these are four of the main synagogues, let's just say, that are established at this point in time. Now, I think synagogues today, the Sephardic synagogues were renovated several times over the years, but were obviously completely neglected after the fall of the Jewish local Muslims. And obviously after the Six-Day War, they would be renovated at various different points in time. Now, various different people would give paintings of these pictures. I think someone named Shmuel Hirschenberg, I think in 1908, he was a Polish-born Palestinian painter, would actually paint the middle synagogue, a nice picture of it today, which we also have to point out, which is very, very interesting. And more can be said with regards to the splendor of the Beit Knesset, of all the various different pictures online, which I recommend also people to look at, which it really encapsulates the beauty of the synagogues. Now, it's interesting, the Jerusalem Foundation itself will also speak about the four synagogues in its own right, speaking about the architect, also Dan Tanai, who included the repair of the synagogue walls and vaults and the reconstruction of historic details when he was doing it. It's actually, I think, at that point in time, there was instruction of new features would actually be featured in the synagogue. I think the arch doors were designed by someone named Boris Schatz, who was a founder of the Bezalel School of Art. For example, he would actually bring I think the synagogues now also, they don't just serve the Sephardi communities, but also Ashkenazi communities, respectively. There's that's also things that we have to point out about this famous synagogue in of its own. So various other places, well, I think you can see online tours online. It's a proper historic site, let's just say, in of itself, that really encapsulates the old city. But the various different online tours that are actually given there. It's actually called Arba'at Batei HaKnesiot Sephardim. If you go and see, let's say, in its own right, the introduction to it when you come to the actual site. So that's very, very interesting over there. And, many of the great rabbis, we actually recorded a video about the various different Rishon LeZions that were chief rabbis of Israel, about many of them that would have been ordained inside this synagogue over there. So that's something we do have to point out on that. We actually, let's say, we did record, I think, if I'm not mistaken, an entire video of the history of the chief rabbinate, the Rishon LeZions, all over Israel, of Jewish history in of itself. Now, the Spanish-Portuguese website will actually, which is located in Jerusalem, will actually speak about the Kilat Shaarei Zion, which I think it's called 1980, which is actually housed in one of the four Sephardic synagogues over there, which we say about before. It just says itself inside the website, the S&PCentral.org will say services take place as one of the four Sephardic synagogues in the Jewish quarter of Jerusalem's Old City. The synagogues form a complex of four adjoining synagogues built at different periods to accommodate religious needs of the Sephardic community, each congregation practicing a different rite. As the Sephardic community of Jerusalem grew, a large immigrants of Istanbul, Turkey, who used the adjacent building as a synagogue from 1764. Over time, the Istanbuli synagogue attracted worshippers, as we stated before, from North and West Africa, and is obviously used as Spanish-Portuguese congregation following the London Rite that we mentioned about this already over here. And they actually, I think they quoted Wikipedia as a source in regards to that, and they've got a beautiful Aron HaKodesh, as you can see. It's also known as Istanbuli Synagogue of Jerusalem. So that's very interesting. And remember, the Sephardi chief rabbis from Jerusalem have dated back hundreds and hundreds of years. So currently, the chief rabbi happens to be Rabbi David Yosef. Now, I'm not too sure if that's, I don't know if they were still, well, let's just say now, just going to explore who were the chief rabbis of Israel. The Sephardic chief rabbis include Rabbi Levi ibn Habib, Rabbi David ben Solomon ibn Abi Zimra. This was all 16th century. Rabbi Moshe ben Mordechai Galante, Rabbi Chaim Vital, reported over, very interesting enough, Rabbi Bezalel Ashkenazi, Rabbi Gedalia Cordovero, Rabbi Yitzchak Gaon, Rabbi Israel Benjamin, Rabbi Yaakov Tzemach, Rabbi Shmuel Garmison, Rabbi Moshe ibn Habib, Rabbi Moshe Hayon. I think there was also Rabbi Avram ben David Yitzchaki, Rabbi Benyam in Mali, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Nahum, Rabbi Nisim Mizrahi, Rabbi Israel Yaakov Al-Ghazi, Rabbi Chaim Raphael Abraham ben Asher, Rabbi Yom Tov Al-Ghazi between 1772 to 1802. So those synagogues are very much standing at that point in time. Rabbi Moshe Yosef Mordechai Miyuchas, was chief rabbi. Rabbi Yosef Moshe Aish al-Meghrabi, Rabbi Yaakov Koral, Rabbi Raphael Yosef Chazan, Rabbi Yom Tov Danan, Rabbi Salmon Moshe Suzin, Rabbi Yonah Moshe Navon, Rabbi Yehuda Raphael Navon, Rabbi Haim Nisim Abu Lafia, Rabbi Haim David Chazan, Rabbi Avram Ashkenazi, Rabbi Raphael Moshe Meir Panishiel, Rabbi Yaakov Shal Lisha. I'm not sure if this entire list itself, there were other rabbis also. I think in the 20th century, for example, Rabbi Eliyahu Moshe Panishiel, Rabbi Nachman Betita, Rabbi Moshe Franco, Rabbi Chaim Moshe Elisha, Rabbi Nisim Yehuda Danon, Rabbi Shalom Ashash, Rabbi Shalom Amar, and I think Ashkenazi chief rabbis. I'm not too sure if they were themselves, let's say, ordained in that specific place, but they included Rabbi Meir Orbach, especially in the 19th century, and Rabbi Shmuel Salant. So that would be interesting to know if they did. Obviously, Rabbi Chaim Berlin will be the chief rabbi at the start of the 20th century, but that's very, very interesting. So, friends, we're a community here. Please subscribe to the channel. We are learning about, on this series itself, we're learning about the great rabbis of yesteryear. Now, one thing that we are also doing at the moment is we're trying to look at the history of the different great synagogues that there were in Israel, especially in Jerusalem of its time. Sephardic, which we're really trying to look at the various different Sephardi synagogues there were all throughout Jewish history, as we are really trying to formulate a Sephardic online encyclopedia over here to learn about the various different synagogues, different yeshivot, the different rabbis there were in all different locales, the different countries. So over here it was special to show we explored about the four Sephardi synagogues based in the old city of Jerusalem. Now, friends, if any of you have not subscribed yet to this channel over here, please subscribe now. We are nearing a staggering 7,500 subscribers, which is a phenomenal achievement. I didn't think we would get anywhere near that figure at the start when we started this project over here all those years ago. So many of you have joined in from the beginning, and it just shows the brilliance that we've been able to achieve over here on this channel. So please subscribe to it. We're recording history of great rabbis of yesteryear. Now, if you feel anyone's interested in watching any of these videos that we're recording, please share these videos also to other people, also to people that might be interested within regards to him. And if you feel anyone's interested, please share it. We don't just record videos of great rabbis of yesteryear. We also record videos with rabbis of current times. We have a short inspiration from various different Jewish personalities here of modern era to share over some wisdom for Am Yisrael here in current days, which is absolutely phenomenal in of itself. So please, everyone, join in and subscribe, like the videos. We also do videos on daily tidbits of the Daf Yomi, the daily page of the Gemara. Also here on this channel, we are also exploring various different other importances also within regards to the Sephardic community, and so on and so forth. So please, friends, subscribe. Thanks very much for watching, everyone. I'm recording this here at the time of Tzom Gedalia, fast of Gedalia. That happens to be on 3rd of Tishrei over here today. So I'm just in the middle of the fast. We're about to finish the fast quite soon. And thanks for watching live, and wishing everyone a safe fast, whoever's watching. And subscribe now to the channel. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks. I appreciate it.